Do you ever wonder why you're doing what you do in life? Do you wish that you could be really happy and passionate about what you do? Or maybe you already are and you want to expand in a different direction. Hi, I'm Barbara Ann, host of What the Why? I love what I do. A lot of that has to do with my story, my journey to this point in life. And guess what? Everybody has a story. So please join me for conversations with leaders from all walks of life about what they do, and more importantly, why they do it, how they found their core purpose, their passion, their mission in life. And if you're looking for your own, maybe you'll get some great suggestions on how you too can find your why.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of What the Why, the show that features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured out this is their purpose. If you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or you feel stuck and you want to get unstuck, your job, your company, your life, whatever that may be, all of our guests, for the most part, have something in common with you. At some point, they felt similarly in one way or another, and they decided to do something about it. And our guest today is no exception. Now, I want to make sure, one thing I did not check, it's Johannes Wolfaardt, right? All right.
Yes.
So Johannes is the author of Struggling Stains. In addition to that, he's a speaker, a community advocate. And by the way, he's joining us all the way from South Africa. He draws from his personal journey of overcoming childhood trauma, abuse, and hardship. And he shares a message of hope and forgiveness and healing and resilience. As the creator of Struggling Stains documentary, that is a project dedicated to raising awareness about trauma, restoring lives, and giving a voice to those who have suffered in silence. Through his writing and public speaking, Johannes encourages individuals and communities to work together to build safer, stronger, and more compassionate societies. You know, he's got a very active online presence, so we're going to talk about that too, because he's across multiple platforms. And, so you're going to be able to get links to his contact information wherever you're accessing this podcast. But I really want to emphasize that his content is for everyone. And so, joining me, without further ado, from South Africa, please welcome Johannes Wolfaardt. So, round of applause. Yay! Welcome, 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 welcome. So, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Barbara. It's a great honor to join you.
And so, first of all, honor's ours. Thank you so much. But as we start off every episode, we always, after reading the bio, ask our guests, your story now is the sum total to date of everything that you've been through. But don't imagine that what you're doing is what you thought you would be doing when you were younger. So what did little Johannes want to be when he was growing up?
Well, I was a graphic designer. I studied graphic design. I never thought about being an author nor a public speaker. My passion was to design. And I think my passion, my ideas was different from what the Lord's ideas was. And I think that's the thing that got me. My father, when I met him for the very first time, he always would tell me, "Hey, did you remember you stole some of my pens and papers to write, but you couldn't write at the age of 4." So maybe at that time I was a writer, but I didn't believe that. So that's how I became a writer after my studying for 4 years, and yeah.
Wow. So how did you get from that little one who would steal the pens and papers to write to where you are now?
Well, it was quite difficult because I have a original copy of the book, and some of the authors here in South Africa said it's not a book, It is a diary. So it's about 500,000 words. It took me about 14 years to write. All the bad that happened to me, nothing good, and all the anger and everything that I had. So from a very young age, I did like to write essays and so forth, and never thought I would write my first book in 2024, published it in, or actually 2023, published it in 2024, and just go around South Africa and having conversations about the book that I wrote and about emotional healing. So, yeah, I never thought I would be the one person who's standing on the stage and saying, "Hey, my name is Johannes Wolfaardt. I wrote a book, Struggling in Stains, and this is what happened to me." So I never thought about sharing my story with the world, and because I thought, okay, but it's not going to help anyone. So, and I was afraid to share my story many years ago when I was studying, and but I think after 2021, I got courage to sharing my story.
Mhm. So, of course, we've brought the story up to the extent that you're comfortable, and also don't give away any what we call spoiler alerts here in the United States. What is the story of your journey?
My story is pain, from pain to purpose. And I think that's the biggest message that I can give. Forgiveness and healing. Forgiveness is possible, and forgiveness is possible, especially when you have to forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And forgiveness is both the forgiveness we do for ourselves, but also forgiveness is something we do for ourselves of others. Sometimes they don't ask for it, but it's important for us to do it so that we can heal and move on. And so, how did you get to a point where, I guess the shortest way to ask the question is, what happened that put you on this path?
Well, many years ago, before 2021, I went through a horrific childhood time. My young adult life wasn't as glamour as I would have liked. I was a drug addict. I was doing everything except being a Christian, a follower of Christ. And I delved into satanic things and became an atheist. And so I tried everything else except Christianity. And in 2021, 15th July, and in the time I tried to take my own life, and it started at a very young age. I was about 10 years old when that came in first. That was when I was taken away from my father's home in 1993. So that's many years ago, and so that's when I was abused by my father, very severely abused by him, and when I had to learn how to forgive others, I had to learn what forgiveness was to me as an individual person. So someone just came to me and said, "You know what? There's a mirror. Why don't you go have a conversation with yourself?" Now, a lot of people, I'm an author, so I'm allowed to speak to myself, and I'm allowed to answer myself. So I'm having a conversation, like a meeting between author and writer. So, and that's a joke that I normally use, especially when people ask me, "But how did I forgive?" And I had a conversation with myself. I called on my name, and I stood in front of that mirror, and it's very difficult to look yourself in the mirror and say, "You know what? I forgive you for believing all the lies, for carrying the burden, and for blaming others for the mistakes you made." And so, yeah, and that I think that's how I became aware of how to forgive, because now I understand what forgiveness is. Because the Bible does say, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." Now, the words that I use, "Forgive your neighbor as you will forgive yourself." So, and I think that's a very important thing, and that's how I learn how to forgive, is by having a conversation with me and asking my own forgiveness. And that's how I learned how to forgive.
hmm Which is beautiful. And it's interesting because uh, separately, I had a conversation around that same love your neighbor as yourself. And my assertion was that part of the problem in the world right now is so many people don't love themselves. And so
Mm.
they are actually loving their neighbors exactly as they love themselves. And part of what your work is doing is trying to help fix that with people
Yes.
who are ready to make those choices. Um, Now, again, not to give away spoilers, but being removed from your dad's home was just the beginning of other things that happened as well. And so, in addition to forgiving yourself and your dad, there's others along the way that did also help contribute to what you went through. Um, Forgiveness takes courage. Uh, Whether those of you who believe in God or don't believe in God are watching, it takes courage to make that choice. How did you find the courage to stand up and say, I'm going to choose this. I'm going to forgive what happened to me, and I'm going to forgive myself?
I had to make a choice. So the biggest thing that a lot of people need to understand, you need to make a choice. You need to make a decision. But if you take the right decision, it's healthy for your mental state. But if you take the wrong decision, it is harmful to you and everybody around you. So I had to make a decision. While I was busy in the garden in 2021, I was busy taking out weeds in the garden. And and I thought to myself, but every time when we try to take out weeds, there's some roots that breaks off, or the ground is too hard or anything. Now that weed, you can see it as your own problem, your emotional status that you have, the trauma that you went through. And if you don't pull that out, it will keep growing. It will keep growing. It will keep growing. So you have to dig it out constantly. And that's the same with emotional problems, unforgiveness. And I had to choose to dig it out with my own bare hands to get it out. So, like I said, if you're thirsty, you go, you get up, and you decide to go get water. Now it's a decision that you make. So everything that you do in life is a decision forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I interestingly on my LinkedIn, it even reads, all transformation starts the same with a choice. And now it doesn't
Yes.
mean it's easy, but that's how it starts. It starts. And so let's talk about struggling states. The thoughts of you and your experiences that turned into a book, that turned into a brand. How did you come up with that title?
Well, it's a very interesting title. My wife actually encouraged me to write the book, so that's why I love her so much, because she was the one who did not give up on the journey that I had, even if I tried to give up. And we actually, when we had to, it was in 2023 when we actually had to get a name for the book. And I asked my wife, "Do you have any names?" And she's like, "No, I don't. But let's pray about it." And so we went and we prayed about it, the both of us. And as I was sleeping, I had a dream about a young boy with white clothes on, but
Mm,
he was walking uphill, and the going upwards, he was slipping constantly. So it was wet and it was slippery, and the whole time he takes his hands and he smeared it. Now, guys, if you there's guys or women here are watching, and you're a mechanic, you normally do this. So and in this dream, I saw the child doing this and struggling to get up the hill, and that's when struggling stains was born on that day.
mm, okay. Uh, and it's interesting because I can actually yes, I can visualize this, doing this. And so you wrote the book and it was well received. And now it's become a brand. Um, and we talked about the fact that you're the author and a speaker. Let's talk about the community advocacy part, because there are so many people that you've been able to help by sharing your journey. Um, Again, it's one thing to help yourself. It's another thing to start to choose to help others. A lot of other people are out there watching right now saying, "Oh, I wish I could do something along that line. I wish I could." How did you make the decision that this is the way you're going to help?
I got up, and it's a choice that I made. I got up and I walked to the street. The first person that I saw, I spoke to that person. That's when I started. So it wasn't a group of people. It was one individual that I saw that needed my guidance. And I went to that person and I spoke to that person. And then I went to the next person and then the next person. And then it became groups of four. And then the groups. So a lot of people want to start very big at first, but start small. And that's what I had to learn. I had to learn how to start with one individual person, share my story, and help him or help her. And if I know this is not, I'm not qualified to help this person, I normally would advise them to go and get the help they need. And I think that's how I started with the community and with one person at a time.
And to the extent that you can share, um, who are some of the people, unless they've given you permission, you don't have to say their names, but who are some of the types of people that you have helped by through the work that you're doing?
I get a lot of people that has suicidal thoughts, and I do. Uh, it's about. I'm not going to say it's a quick journey. It takes time to walk with people that went through emotional trauma and says they're worthless. Then I have to teach them. So then I show them through methods that I use that you can love yourself. And as soon as you do that, you can love others. And then I do work with drug addicted children that went through and young adults. So I do work with them. And now and then I go into a rehab and I have a conversation at a rehab and just spend some time with them. Normally, what I do is I don't think I'm better than anyone else. I don't think okay, but I'm the author and I throw that around. I just say, I am a person who understands your pain. My name is Johannes Wolfaardt. I can help you. Are you willing for me to help you? I did not mention my book. I did not mention how many interviews I did. So I don't throw around the status. I throw around, I got a story, I've got a solution. Do you want the solution? And then most people would say yes, they need the solution. So that's how I approach people. And I do workshops and I do online speaking as well, so that we can help more people, not just South Africa, but international as well.
Mhm. I think one of the things that's brilliant in your approach is the humility. It makes you're meeting people where they are, which is essential to trauma-informed approach, what we call here in the United States trauma-informed approaches. Um, but that doesn't mean that any of this was easy. And your wife, who I did get to meet briefly in our pre-show interview, has been a huge part of supporting you through this journey. Um, to the extent that she's comfortable and that you're comfortable. You've given a couple examples of how she's supportive, but there are other spouses out there that would not be as supportive. Um, how did the two of you meet?
Well, it was in 2021. It was about in July. I had my 36th time that I tried to take my own life in 15th July, about 6 o'clock that evening. And about a week after that, I decided, no, I need help and got help. I went to the farm, people that I know that took me off the street in 2008, and I lived with them. So I know them. They're still part of my life. I do not move them out of my life because they do contribute to my life so much. And when I do have a problem, I just go and have a conversation with them sometimes. And she was on the farm already, and I was there. I had a broken back and broken leg, So on my way there, she thought I was the most beautiful spider on planet Earth with crutches and everything. So, but she saw a broken person. She didn't see, okay, but he's a shameful person and all those. She just saw he needs prayer. And that's all she did. She didn't have a conversation with me. She didn't. She did say hello. She was very polite to me, but I was the one that was um, upset and trying to take out my emotions on others. And so I wasn't pleasant to be around with. But she kept praying for me. Every morning at 3 o'clock, she would get up and she would pray, not for someone, but for me. In 2021, 2nd of October, we got married. We got engaged at 10 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, I'm very good with dates and numbers. So my wife always says, yeah, she doesn't need a diary. She got me, or day planner. So it's good to have someone. Um, so and on the 23rd January 2022, 3 o'clock that afternoon, we got married. And about a few months in our marriage, she took out the prayer book that she used, and she was writing. She wrote there that she prayed for me, and she came to me and said, "Oh, look, this is the prayer I did for you. I wrote it down just for you." And in that time, I wasn't busy with the book struggling stains that didn't exist there at all. And then she came to me and she said, "Why don't you just finish your book? Just finish your book." And again, she supported me and in doing what God has planned for me, what I had to do to help others. But it's not just from one side support, but I had to support her as well. I had to support her dreams as well. And I think that's very important. When you have a mission, when you have a purpose that you would like to proceed with, remember one thing, and especially when you're married, it's not a it takes two to tango, as they would normally say. So it takes two people to support each other to make a success. So, and that's what I'm doing. She supported me, and in the process, I supported her with her dreams that she wants, and I think that's very important. So, because what I've realized, especially having a conversation with couples, the one person just pours in, and the other one doesn't give back. And support works like that. If I'm half empty, my wife fills me up. When she's half empty, I fill her up with my support. And I think that's the most important thing that we can say. By choosing to support each other, you can have success. So, because I love my wife so much, because in everything that I do, she supports me. And everything she does, I support her.
Which is awesome. It's really, it sounds like, this has been such a symbiotic and loving and mutual relationship that's helped inform the work that you're doing, support the work that you're doing, and brings you joy in ways that you didn't have growing up. Um, in terms of anybody else that may be even remotely supportive, who, if anyone else, has helped you on the journey to this point?
Well, not really in writing the book and supporting me in. My wife was mostly the person that was very close to me that supported me. Yes, some of my friends said I should do this, I should do that, but my wife was the main person that supported me constantly the whole time. I had a lot of people that say it won't work. I'm lying. I'm not telling the truth. So I really had the support, but I did had my wife, and she was constantly there. Yes, there was people that said, you know what, if you feel like you want to do that, do it. If it's God's will for your life, just do it. And I did, and I took that as a very positive impact. So it was a handful of people that supported me, with the main person in the middle was my wife. And then I had about 2 or 3 hands full of people that criticized me and said, no, this is not going to work.
Yeah, which is interesting because of reasons I won't go into. Sometimes those are actually the people I end up going back and thanking, because when they tell you no, you're kind of like, oh, really? Watch me, watch me. And there's is and not from an egotistical perspective, but from a thank you for giving me the incentive to challenge what's possible. And so there were those out there who were skeptical that you could even do the book. And now it's a documentary. So tell us about that journey, please.
Well, this actually came in 2024 when I received the book the first time, when I had my first book launch in March 2024.
Mm.
And I spoke to my wife and I said, you know what, my dream is, and I do hope this comes to pass, that it will be a book, it will be a stage production, it will be a documentary, a movie, then a series. So that was my dream, and I hold on to that dream, and I can say this now today, 2027, early in 2027, the stage production is starting. And in middle 2027, the documentary is starting. So everything is starting. We are moving forward. So I'm very excited to that. For 2 weeks, I'm going to be on the road, just uh, showing everybody where we are, what we've been through, what I've been through, and all those things. Just sharing all those things. And but the main focus of this journey is to show people healing is possible. I need to choose my healing. So, and that's why we are doing it. I'm showing people um, that all those things are possible, but you need to make a decision. And my decision came when I wrote the book, and in the process of writing the book, I got my healing. And while that, I did my first interview in 2024, 26th of January, with a magazine here in South Africa, and it was beautiful. It was my first time doing something like this, and I never thought I would do that. I was always shy to speak to people, but now as the time progressed, and it's about 2 years. So last year we've got someone that wrote the script, the stage production script of the book Struggling Stains. And we waited about 2 years. Now in 2027, it will be about 2 to 3 years that we waited for the stage production. And everything has a purpose and everything has a plan. So I try to keep in that time of not being too hasty with certain things. And yes, this year in May, in 18th May, we did the promo video of the Struggling Stains documentary. And again, I'm not an actor, so I was trying my best to look professional on that. But thankfully, the editors of Palm Films SA, they helped very well. They did their job very well. So, and I'm very happy to do that. And they are also here in South Africa. And yeah, so I think it's because I made a decision. Like I said, I decided to do this with support from people that I love dearly, especially my wife. And I didn't take the negative criticism from people, because if they give negative criticism, it's either they are jealous or they got hurt or something else. So it's always 3 ways. And I took that as an encouragement for myself, not to prove it to them, but to prove it to me. Because who's my best friend and who's my worst enemy? I'm my best friend and I'm my own worst enemy. So, and I think that's the main thing that I normally focus on, and telling people, you know what, if you want to do something, people out there will criticize you. I had a lot of criticism doing interviews on a radio station here in South Africa, It was about 3,400 comments. Now, 400 of them were positive. 3,000 was criticism, telling me I'm worthless, and all those kind of words. I'm not going to mention it. But it gave me the courage to do something people don't want to do. They don't want to talk about human trafficking. They don't want to talk about abuse. They don't want to talk about emotional abuse, physical abuse, and all the abuse that you can think about. They don't want to talk about it. So it takes one person to understand a multitude's pain. And I, again, I would normally say, Lord, I'm thankful that I can understand someone else's pain. And through this journey of patience, having patience, perseverance, people supporting me, and doing all that I'm really enjoying. But yeah, like I said, next year is going to be a very big year. With the stage production, we've got everything sorted out with that, with the documentary that's coming out. And when the documentary is coming out, and we do hope in 2028, we will start working on the movie of Struggling Stains.
Wow. And there's so many important things in what you just said. And one of them, and I'm shout out to Joe Colantonio, the person who trained me as a coach initially. One of my favorite quotes that I use over and over again from her is, what people say and do is about them. What
Yeah,
we hear and how we choose to respond or react is about us. And so, the couple thousand of people who exist in a world where it was so important for them to take time to say something negative about your experience helped motivate you. And the 400 people that took time to say something uplifting helped motivate you to get you to this point where we're having this conversation, where the movie is coming, where the stage production is coming. And there are so many people out there that invest so much time and energy in the negativity.
yes,
And it's unfortunate, but you turned your pain to purpose as you started out describing your experience in the beginning. So, in terms of where we go from here, you've got all of these things that are coming in 2027. And you've touched on, why you decided to share your life journey. Um, your mission to raise childhood trauma, awareness, abuse, but also the choices of forgiving, healing, and restoration. Let's talk about on a larger level because, you know, communities. I've done work in one here in the United States in Camden that has done a lot to address these challenges. But you're the guest. So, how can communities come together to address issues such as crime and substance abuse and gender-based violence and the lack of hope that so many people have?
it's true. And it's not just in the USA that people are sitting with that. It's everywhere. It's internationally. So it's an international problem that everybody is sitting with. What if you stop saying, "I want to help," or maybe I can do this because we've I have this. I've got a. I love people that pray, but I love people more that do. And especially when you go out and you do something. Don't sit on your couch. Get up, get your running shoes on. There's someone that needs your help. That there's just needs your encouragement. I'm going to share a testimony. In 2024, I had the privilege of speaking on a South African program in Cape Town. I was flown through to Cape Town just to have a conversation on television, and I don't know how many people are being touched because most people don't reach out to you.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes that's a good thing because then I know the impact that the story is making is real. And when I got back to South Africa, back home, it was about a month before they aired the show. And I was now sitting in front of the television. I want to see, okay, but what do I look like on television? Because this is my first time, first experience. So I'm there looking at with friends and family sitting next to me, and we're like having popcorn. The program's name is Quella. It came out. It's a Afrikaans program, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, wow, look at that handsome bloke sitting there, and but I was nervous, and then I asked the question after the show. I wonder how many people were touched just by hearing a story. And a lot of people want to go out there and want to have stadium full of people, but you don't need a stadium full of people. You can do it on a podcast, you can do it on a radio station, you can share everything everywhere on social media, and you can still reach a lot of people. So, and about 2 weeks after that, I went to a restaurant. I was sitting there with my laptop. I just came from a radio station. My wife was working at the time, and I was busy typing out my next meeting for the next day. And a family of four came to me, and they stood next to me. Now, normally, we as human beings, we are very curious, especially when someone sits next to you, you always look up and you smile. And I was that curious, and I looked up and I smiled, and I went back to my laptop, had my cup of tea, and the husband asked me, "Are you Johannes Wolfaardt?" And I said, "Yes, I am." Now, again, in my mind, I thought, okay, but do I owe you anything? Did I do anything to you? So now I was thinking, what's going on? And he just said, "Thank you. Your story saved my life." That evening, on the 7th of July, 2024, at 6 o'clock, he wanted to commit suicide. He was contemplating committing suicide, and this is the truth. And his son was contemplating the exact same thing. And they have a family tradition to watch television at a certain time to watch this program. And he said, "Okay, you know what? After the program, I'll go for a drive and I'll just end everything." He lost his job, and a lot of things happened to him emotionally, so he couldn't bear everything. And him and his son's relationship wasn't as well as they thought it would. And so he said his wife called them, and they both went there. But in the back of their minds, they thought, okay, but when the program's done, I'll just go and end everything. Then I won't be a burden to everyone. The mindset that they had, or the enemy's mindset. And then I came up. My 14 minutes came up, and I spoke about the book Struggling Stains and what I've been through, and how many times I tried to take my own life. And when the program was finished, he opened up to his daughter, or his wife and his daughter and his son, that he contemplated on taking his own life. And the son did the exact same. And about a few weeks after that, they saw me sitting at a spur in Bloemfontein here in South Africa, and having a cup of tea with my laptop on. And they said, "Your story saved our lives." He's doing now much better. He's got a great job, and they're doing very well. So that gave me courage. Now that shows that I don't have to go outside to the community and have a whole charade going on there. I can do it on television, radio station. And at the moment, we just reached just over 4 million people internationally just by sharing the story. Now, that's a lot of people. And to me, this is my platform. This is my community. Everybody that went through pain, they're my family, because I love them as the way I love myself, because I know what pain is. I know what it feels like to go through that alone. But When you overcome, you don't need a stadium full of people. You can have only one person. If one person comes to you and say, thank you, that's worth it. And
Mhm.
I had that last week. I had that. I was invited to go speak to a school here in Bloemfontein, South Africa, and it was a great privilege going to speak to the students. And I just shared my story. And I showed them the book and everything, and they were so glued to what I was saying and the impact. That second day, I got a message from this teacher, and she said, Johannes, this is what the students are saying. And they just say, thank you. Your story impacted our lives and gave us a choice to choose better. And so that to me is worth doing what I'm doing now. So if you need to, even if you're at work, it's still a community. Who's the, what is a community? Community is a couple of, as people around you. They are part of the community. So even the
Mhm.
people in work, we are workplaces. You can still encourage them. If you're a CEO, I suggest you encourage your employees to allow them to come and speak to you if they do have a problem. If you're a student and you need to talk to a teacher, do that. Because I believe what I've learned, um, people were created to support one another emotionally, and like Moses had two people that lift up his hands. His arms got tied, so he had two people that lift up his arms for him. So we need people to encourage us. So, and I think that's my biggest message that I normally give. I love to encourage people, especially when they go through a horrific time. I would say, you know what, you're not alone. I'm there to lift up your hands, and I will carry you if I have to. And I think that makes it so much sweeter to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah. And believe it or not, I mean, we're actually kind of at time, but I do want to touch on something because people listening, um, I don't want them to get the impression that you're talking about ignoring accountability.
Mm.
And so, but you can still forgive and also hold accountable. And so, as we wrap up our time together, um, what are some suggestions or advice that you have for people who might be watching or listening to this right now, either in South Africa or anywhere in the world now that we're international, that are maybe struggling with that? Um, how do you find the ability to move forward while also still making sure that whether it's yourself or whoever's involved, you're not ignoring the accountability aspect of it?
No, I'm not. Let's take me at the age of 9 years old. And this is what I normally tell people. My father abused me severely, and a teacher saw it. And it was in 1993 in October. And the 14th of October, the head of the school made a case against my father, and the accountability was there. So when something happens to you, it's you, you can hold that person accountable, but learn how to forgive that person, because forgiveness brings freedom to you. And sometimes you are the one that needs that freedom. But if you got abused, report it to the police station, go to the authority and speak to them. It is not because you hate the person, it's because you want to help the person to become better and
Mhm.
find the healing that that person needs. Because a lot of people don't understand, but someone that abuses others was abused when he or she was very young. So
Yeah.
it's not in love. What I normally say, how much do you love a person? Do you love a person so much that you keep if that person keeps abusing you, or would you say, you know what, I'm done. I'm getting the authorities. And it's not because you want to harm the person. It's really because you need to help that person. And it helps you as well. Because if you stay in that abusive relationship, it doesn't matter who you are, man or woman, child, you do. eventually just seek the abusive relationship. But if you make a decision on saying, you know what, I need to find the help, not just for me, but for my spouse or my family or whoever as well, so that they can get the healing, because that's a process of healing as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for touching on that, because a lot of people don't really hurt people, hurt other people.
Mm.
And so accountability really can be as important. The forgiveness is for you, the forgiveness is for them, but so is the accountability part. And so um, let's talk about, as we wrap up, how can individuals or organizations or companies who are interested in supporting Struggling Stains documentary, the stage show, your message in general, so that you can reach more people, what are some of the ways that they can do so?
Well, they are more than welcome to visit www.strugglingstains.org.za, and all the information for the documentary and everything is on there. I make sure that the team that handles that area always puts all the information that people are looking for. And we do have a backup buddy that's on the link as well, or on the website. So, and they are more than welcome just to go search. Struggling Stains, and they can see all the information, all the interviews, and they will also find my Facebook page on my website, and they're more than welcome to interact and send an email if they would like to have more information about what we do.
Awesome. Johannes, thank you so much for taking the time to join us all the way from South Africa. And everybody who's listening and watching, you heard how you can reach out to him. Please do. Please do. And we got to have you back when the documentary is released, when the stage show hits, so we can do a follow-up conversation. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share your
Thank you, Barbara.
story. Thank you. And for all of you who are watching, you know, thank you so much. Whether you're watching or listening, wherever you're accessing this podcast, thank you for investing your time and energy in hearing from people like Johannes. You have so many different viewing and listening choices these days, and we really appreciate the fact that you're choosing to spend some of your valuable time with us. And if you do find it valuable, please like, share, follow so that others will find it valuable as well. And remember, whether you're looking to make changes in your life or help someone else make changes in their life, no matter how big or small, you can always tune in, download, watch, listen, or whatever our show for more inspirational, informative, and really, truly transformational conversations with guests such as Johannes, who went through sometimes seemingly insurmountable odds and found the courage and the commitment to find their purpose and to live it.